Because I always talk to my clients about the difference from being in reaction to being in creation. I was in reaction for 32 years. I reacted to everybody else's agenda, everybody else's plan. I didn't stop to think. I just moved from one thing to the next all the time. I did very well, had a successful career, lots to be grateful for. But it wasn't until I shifted out of reaction and into creation and really thinking about what I wanted to create, the impact I wanted to have in the world, that when you can start to see that, even though it's scary, you're more likely to move towards it.
Welcome to Gratitude Geek, the relationship marketing podcast helping DIY marketers find your micro-influencer magic so you attract raving fans and repeat buyers. I'm your host, Candice Rodarty, and today we are talking to Kirsteen Williamson-Guinn, a transformational confidence and transition coach and a certified master of transformational health and life coaching. Kirsteen created Elevate Women to support people in stressful times in their career, and she helps women tap into their full potential and elevate themselves. She works with women on a one-to-one basis, has a group coaching program, and is a speaker and transformational facilitator. But what's most inspiring is her passion for empowering more female leaders. So get ready to be inspired, and let's dive into this conversation. Welcome, Kirsteen. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today having this conversation with you.
Should be fun. So let's hear your story. How did you get to where you are today?
Okay. Well, I spent 32 years in banking. So I know 4 years ago in August, I took the big leap and decided to leave and set up my own business. And that was prompted by a couple of things, or a few things actually. For a few years before I left, I felt like there was something else for me, and I couldn't quite articulate or visualize what that was, but I knew there was more. And after 32 years in one organization, you kind of know that it's time. But then things happened with my parents' health. So my dad was terminally ill and was given his sentence. My mum was in the grips of dementia. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I'd lost control. I couldn't do anything to control what was happening for either of them. I lost my confidence. I lost myself. I lost my way.
So I'd been doing my training as a health coach, and because of that work I'd done, I was able to take myself through the care and support that I needed, because at the time the alternatives were really to take time out of work, and I was worried that I'd never go back, or to start with medication and numb and suppress, and I didn't want to do that either. So I almost became my first client, and that's when I knew that was the work I wanted to do. I created a way for me to exit and have the comfort and support to be able to build my own business. And I knew I wanted to work with female leaders who were stressed, anxious, lost themselves, lost their way. And I created my first program, which was basically what I went through to help those people. And then things have just sort of evolved from there. My business was initially called Return to Work because I was helping people return, which is one of the most stressful times in people's career. But then it turned out that I was helping people leave work. So people built their confidence up, found themselves, and realized they wanted something else. And that's what I ended up doing. So I rebranded into Elevate Women.
All right, so let's talk about this exit plan thing, because there are probably 100,000 or more women in the world right now. There's probably 1 million women in the world right now who hate what they're doing and they want to move on to the next thing. So talk about creating that exit plan.
So it's really about finding a way of creating as much certainty and safety as you can in the situation. The other thing that I did was I negotiated my exit with my employer. So I looked at opportunities for me to leave with a package and managed to negotiate that. But the other most important thing, I think, is once you get an idea that you want to go and you want to do something else, you need to start building that plan at least 12 months before. So you need to think about things like, how much money do I actually need? And lots of studies show you need really 6 to 9 months income for the essentials to give you that comfort. You need to have tried and tested whatever it is that you're looking to sell. So I did a beta program that I ran for free to prove that what I was doing was working and having the impact that you want. You also need to have built a network of people around you that are going to support you, champion you, pick you up, fill the gap. And so building that network before you leave is also really important. So I spent 12 months networking. I took a day off every month for 12 months, trying to build a network of entrepreneurs, because my previous network had all been people in financial services, 32 years worth. Now they've come in handy since, but you also need an additional network. So these are all the types of things that you need to do so that you're not just jumping off a cliff and hoping for the best, because believe me, we've done that. Me and my husband bought a travel business just months before everybody decided they were going to book their holidays online, which was a very smart move, not research, bought on the basis that we met some amazing people on holiday that had a travel business and they looked really happy. So we thought, we'll buy one. That was just blind faith and no substance, no plan. Needless to say, that did not go well. What I did this time was I had my eyes wide open. So I did the work beforehand. I had clarity of what was needed. And I said at the beginning about creating safety and certainty, thinking through the things that might go wrong and having a plan, having a contingency plan. Because when you know that if things go wrong, you can deal with it, you're going to have a bit more courage to do what you want to do. And one of the things that I always said was that if things didn't go well in my business, I would go and get a job in Budgeons up the road from me. And I remember about 18 months in, that Budgeons closed, and I felt like, oh no, my contingency plan has been blown. But it didn't matter, because that was never real. It was just my mind telling me what it needed to hear.
That's the importance of a plan C, right? No, so I want to dig into two things that you talked about, and one is the beta program that you did. And I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce it beta because I'm an American. You can say beta, I'm going to say beta. Sorry, and then I also want you to dig into how you went about building that network one day a month. Where you focused your time, because that, to me, that is the most important piece. So talk about the network first, and then let's talk about the beta.
So the network, I found a women's networking group that was local to me, and I went to that meeting every month and got to know people. I had one-to-ones with people, and the thing that I realized very quickly was that I was buying all of their products and none of them really understood what I did. And trying to do that one day a month with little research isn't smart. So I didn't look very carefully at where I wanted to go. And I also didn't really know who I was working with at that point. So they were kind of important missing pieces of networking. What I did subsequently was I found, and the other thing that's important to say is, as I set my business up in November 2019, we went into full lockdown February 2020. And a big part of my strategy was working with corporates. Now, I don't know about you or any of the people listening to this, but if anyone tried to get in the front door with corporates talking about anything other than furlough, forget it. So, or COVID-related materials or support, it just wasn't happening. So I knew I had to shift. So one of the things I did, I went to lots of different networking groups, and I just couldn't find something that I felt at home with. And then my coach at the time said, go and check out Polka Dot Powerhouse because it's a worldwide chapter, and you can just go on Zoom and see what you think. So I went, I just was myself. I didn't know what I didn't know. I wasn't trying to be anything or anyone. I was made very, very welcome. And off the back of that, I joined, and I then launched the UK chapter, and I've been building that. So and I say this to everyone, the most important part of building your business is having the right people around you. And that can be, it's lonely running your own business anyway, especially when you've gone from having a big team like I did and loads of people that did pretty much everything for me. And then suddenly I'm doing my own emails, booking my own train ticket, figuring out funnels and God knows what. And it's like, oh, so having that network is really important. So my advice would be find something that feels comfortable where you can just be yourself and get to know people. Don't try and sell things. You don't have to buy everyone's stuff because that's also not smart. But go with curiosity and a desire to build relationships and connections. And who knows what will come from that.
I think it's a good idea to buy the products from the people that you would be buying the products from. I don't think I said that right, but if you use essential oils and there's an essential oil person in your network, of course you need to buy the essential oils from the person in your network.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, if it's a product that you would never even consider using.
That was my thing. If I connected with people, then I felt like I needed to buy their stuff, and that's not networking, and that's when you know you're not in the right place.
Yeah.
Whereas now I can have conversations and we can look for opportunities to support each other, and that's very different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that I love about Polka Dot Powerhouse. I do not belong. I am very good friends with Michelle Slaney-Tirado, who is our mutual friend. And I just love what she has built in Canada. And obviously it's reached out to international because I think Canada started as international. But it's a fantastic organization if you want to network with women, and women are the network that you want to network with, right? I tend to like to network with men. So I chose Business and Network International, BNI.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to network only with women, Polka Dot Powerhouse would be the first place I looked. There are other women's only networking groups, but the camaraderie that you see in Polka Dot, and that comes from the top down. Y'all really support each other. And it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I've been to I even ran a networking group for women, and it can get catty. There can be backstabbing and talking behind your back, and I've never seen any of that from a Polka Dot.
No, that's not how we do things, and that was massively important to me. So when it comes to the network, it's about having an entrepreneurial network like Polka Dot, but it was also, especially early on, about reaching out to people in my old world and socializing what I was now doing and seeing, how I could support them and how they could support me. And one of the things that I found really interesting and uncomfortable was just talking to people that I hadn't spoken to maybe for 10 years even, and saying, can I pick your brains? And, not everybody said yes, but most people came back and agreed and were absolutely brilliant in terms of their insights, their support, and just wanting to help. And sometimes we overlook or underestimate that. We kind of expect people to think, well, you haven't been in touch for 10 years to go away. And that's not how people are broadly.
Well, if you were friends with somebody 10 years ago and you left on good terms, why wouldn't they want to be happy to be reconnected? I love reconnecting with people I haven't seen in a long time.
Absolutely.
And the older you get, the less 10 years seems.
That's true. That's so true. Oh, yeah.
And that's really, reaching back out to the people that you know, like, and respect, and that you worked with in the past, and you want to honor that relationship without overstepping it. Yeah. Just saying, hey, I want to throw this idea at you. You're somebody I respect because we worked together in the past, and I really, I really came to admire your, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, number one, they're going to be flattered that you reached out, and number two, they're going to be happy to reconnect with you. And who knows where that? I mean, if you haven't talked to somebody in 10 years, but it was somebody that you used to go out to lunch with once a week, you know, because you work together, yeah, let's reconnect.
Absolutely.
You know, I keep thinking about those. You know, social media has been great for staying connected with people, but I'm thinking about Angela, who I used to go out to lunch with every week when we worked together, and I have no idea what happened to her. I've been married for 25 years. I haven't seen her since I got married, right? And it makes me sad because because we spent so much time. We were such an important part of each other's life. But I don't even know where to begin to look for her, because at this point she's probably married and has a different last name, and you know,
she might be listening.
She might be listening. Angela, if you're listening, please reach out.
Come on, Angela.
Angela from El Campo, Texas. Please reach out if you were listening.
Brilliant. Wouldn't it be wonderful if she did?
It would be wonderful. That would be so much fun. So let's talk about that beta program. How did you set that up? And what did you learn from it?
So I basically set it up to take people from where I had been and the experiences I was having and feeling into a place where they could find themselves again, feel confident, and do whatever it was they wanted to do. So I'd been training with HCI, Health Coach Institute, and part of my training supported me around building programs. So that's basically what I did. I went through the steps that I needed to take people through to get them from A to B. And then I was looking at people who were returning to work and struggling with confidence. So I went on LinkedIn, which is my preferred platform, and I just asked people to come and talk to me if they were returning to work and struggling with confidence. And from that, I had 10 people who all wanted to go through this program, this test program. And the deal was that there was no charge to them. And what I wanted in return, because at the time I was still employed, what I wanted in return was feedback and testimonial if they appreciated what I did. And from that, I got my first paying client, which was great. But also I got the confidence to know that what I was doing was making a difference. And I got feedback, testimonials that I could use in my marketing, which is really important. People need to see that you can actually do what you say you can do. And I learned that it's always interesting, isn't it? The things that you think are really brilliant and the most useful are rarely the things that your clients think are really brilliant and most useful. So one of the sessions that I thought was the most simple was actually the session that people valued the most, which is funny and annoying all at the same time. So yeah, that's the sort of stuff you learn.
Well, and the other thing on the feedback is that you one of the beta testers became a paid client.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do a beta test and everybody can say, oh my God, that was fantastic. But if nobody's willing to pay you for the next step, then the beta test wasn't a good test.
Yeah.
So that's a good metric.
And funnily enough, I've just started working again with one of those people. So she's just been promoted into a big role and she's come back to me, which is just brilliant. She remembers what we did together, and yeah, she's just signed up to work with me for another 12 weeks.
And what's fantastic is that time has passed, so you're better now.
You know, a different for sure.
I love it. So talk to me about Elevate Women. What's that about?
So Elevate Women is, I spent 32 years in banking. I was in a male-dominated environment. For many times, I was the only female around the table. I was often told that I needed to settle down, or that I was aggressive, or all sorts of things, because
that if they're telling you you're aggressive, that just means you're a good leader.
Yeah.
Jeez.
We had differing views about this, let's
Oh my
say.
goodness gracious.
But I had to almost become, and this is the risk, that you end up becoming like a man to be heard. And I didn't want to do that. And it is so exhausting and infuriating and all the things. And so one of the things that self-growth, self-development is a big part of my life, and it's a big part of my business because we need to be continually learning. And I've been doing some work with Claire Zammit of Feminine Power and learning how to really tap into my feminine qualities to get a different level of success. And that's what I teach now with my clients, because so many of them get told these things. You're aggressive, you're all the things, you're argumentative, whereas people don't generally say that to men. Sweeping statement, I know, but it doesn't happen. It's like men are ballsy, and that's a good thing, right? But women are aggressive. So I'm on a mission to help women speak up, step up, and stand out in a way that is not push all the masculine energy, in a way that is aligned with who they are and their values. Because I want more female leaders in this. There is enough, more than enough male leaders who are causing havoc, chaos, wars, all the things, without getting too political. I want women who are a bit more balanced, nurturing, let's talk about things, let's find solutions, creative, that sort of energy is the energy we need in.
The world holds women to a different standard, a higher standard than men. I mean, I don't think that any world leader who went out dancing with their friends would have the scandal that the leader of Finland had for having an evening out with her friends.
Oh my goodness. I mean, especially over here, the scandals we've seen, the way some of our male politicians have behaved, and it's been swept under the carpet, or they've been promoted into bigger, more powerful positions. It is unbelievable. So yeah, that drives me round the bend.
Oh, it's the same here too. It's the hypocrisy and the hatred. I mean, the hatred of women it's sad. It's sad. I mean, people will say that the reason why they don't like somebody is one thing, but really it is that she's a woman. The reason you don't like her is she's a woman. And that's
she's a woman in a position of power.
And there are so many women right now who are, and I've never seen I'm 53 years old. In my lifetime, I've never experienced this where women are pulling other women down. Women are elevating themselves and becoming something better. And then there are women who I don't want any of that to happen because it didn't happen for me. I'm not going to let it happen to you. And I'm going to pull you back down. And it's really sad. So how can you, with Elevate, counteract that? What can we do to how can we lift up those women who are pulling other women down so they don't feel like I don't even know what they might be feeling. It doesn't make sense to me.
Some of that, and I've experienced a lot of this in corporate. Some of it is this competitiveness and this idea that not all women can be successful. There's like a scarcity of position. And so that creates this whole competitive comparison, things that really drain people of their confidence. And it's massively unhelpful in any environment. So we need to shift our position from comparing to focusing on being our best self, and from competing to actually sharing what we've got and helping each other. But we need to be in an environment that allows us to do that. And that's the challenge, because if you're in an environment where, and this was my experience, where every couple of years, so many of us would get cut, our roles would fall away. And, if you're in a position where you're paying your mortgage and you're financially committed based on the role and position you have, that's really tough to then think, oh, I'm gonna share my resources, I'm gonna help everybody, and not really manage your own career. So the environment has to be an environment that allows people to share and flourish and grow together. That comes from the top.
So I keep thinking about the book, The Handmaid's Tale. I have not seen the
Oh,
television series, and I have not seen the movie. Okay, so I haven't seen the movie or the television series, but I read the book twice when I was in my 20s. So I'm going to get some facts wrong here. And I don't remember
okay.
character names.
Okay.
But the wife of Fred, the
Yes.
wife of Fred,
Yes.
and I don't remember her name.
No,
She
I can't.
had been a religious leader at the
Mm-hmm.
forefront of the movement to create this world where women were subservient to men.
Mm-hmm.
And she had been this icon, this beacon, and everybody had honored her and respected her. And now she was the wife of a man, and she was miserable. So she had created the world she thought she wanted and ended up having to live with the consequences of that. And I think when I think about that, I think, do these women realize that when they do that, they're taking opportunity away from themselves as well? And it's, how, so I do believe that it's figuring out a way to honor those women who are scared, who are, and to help them understand that they don't need to be afraid of the future. But I don't know how to do that. I just don't know. I don't know the solution, but you're right that it's about creating the right environment. I mean,
So,
and
I mean,
and the United Kingdom tends to be more advanced in this area than the United States. So maybe it's a matter of watching what other countries do. I don't know. You're laughing, but it's true.
I am finding that slightly funny to think that's true, but anyway, yeah. I think it's environment, and I think it's also on us as women to start to create clarity for ourselves around what is it that we really want, what are we actually here to do, and sometimes that means that we need to slow down to be able to think clearly about. Because if I always talk to my clients about the difference from being in reaction to being in creation. I was in reaction for 32 years. I reacted to everybody else's agenda, everybody else's plan. I didn't stop to think. I just moved from one thing to the next all the time. I did very well, had a successful career, lots to be grateful for. But it wasn't until I shifted out of reaction and into creation and really thinking about what I wanted to create, the impact I wanted to have in the world, that when you can start to see that, even though it's scary, you're more likely to move towards it. And what I love about this thing, reaction to creation, is it's the same lesson. They are just ordered differently. And it was the same life. I ordered it differently. I started to put myself up there rather than just saying yes to everybody else's stuff. I started to think, what is it that I really want, and how is this moving me towards it? That's an on us. If we want the world to be a better place, we've all got a part to play, and it's time to stand up and do that. And yes, we need support, because I wouldn't have done half the things I've done without support. But we have to go get that.
Well, and the other thing is, if we're elevating women, does that mean that men are on the decline? No. Elevation of women doesn't mean the declination of men. It means the balancing of,
Yeah.
a well-run household has both partners equally distributing the household environment. And that's up to the household, right? So in my relationship, my husband does the grocery shopping and most of the cooking. It's just, that's my relationship, and I know that that's weird for some people, but that's my relationship.
Well,
right?
only because I wouldn't eat if that was done at my husband's. But I totally agree with you. This is not about alienating men or the decline of men. I work with males. I don't say I'm not interested in what men have got to say, or I'm not interested in working with men. But women, there's a special place for women in the world, and some of us are yet to take it. And I want to help them do that.
Yeah,
and it's a big priority for me.
A lot of women are fine in the shadows, but when they
But
step into
are
the
they
light,
really?
yeah,
Are they really?
Yeah.
Are they convincing themselves they are?
Yeah. And
There's an awful lot.
that's true.
Oh,
That's true. Some of them are convincing themselves.
there's also an awful lot of women like I was who on the outside look successful, look like they have everything they want, but on the inside there's something missing.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
they're not having the impact, they're not making the difference.
Yeah.
And that we don't want to feel like that. We don't want to look back on our lives and think, I had this yearning to do something, but I didn't quite let myself do it.
Yeah. Or have the support, Are you surrounding yourself with people who support you in that to move you forward? I'm thinking about Malala.
Okay.
She was shot. She had a
my.
recovery. And now she is, I think she may still be at Oxford, but she may have graduated, but she's like this icon.
She's
And
incredible.
she talks so much about how her father helped her get educated, how her father helped her recover, how this man who who the rest of the world thinks, oppressive, but her father elevated her. And no one even knows what her father's name is.
No.
Right? But she is this icon, and she's the future. I hope that people like Malala are the future.
Yeah.
And, it's because a man lifted her up and elevated her. So that's on.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, my dad was a big influence in my career success. He showed me what a good work ethic looks like. He showed me what drive, motivation, all of those things look like. One of my earliest, biggest influences was Tony Robbins. Love him or hate him. He taught me that there's more and that I can access things that I need. I can be resourceful. One of my biggest career influences for all the wrong reasons was a man, because I joined at 16 at the same time as two males. And those two males, every Thursday afternoon, were blocked out on the rota because they were having study leave. And I went up to my boss, who of course was a man, and said, where are they going? Because I'm not going there. And I'm worried that I should be going where they're going, because we all joined at the same time. And he said, don't worry, they're doing their banking exams. You don't need to do that because you're a woman and you're going to get married and you're going to have children. So your career isn't really going to be a thing. And at that point, I made a decision. I mean, it's funny now, but I was furious at the time. But that's how it was in 1987. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I made a decision that nobody, let alone a man, was going to make decisions about my future, the things I was going to be able to do for myself ever again. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I was always on a development journey of some description, which has served me brilliantly. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful of that ignorance at the time, because it gave me the fire in my belly that I needed.
One of my bosses, one of my very first bosses, was a woman, and she told me that she was fired from a job because she was pregnant.
Wow.
And I'm like, I keep thinking back to that. Is that going to start happening again if we don't have a flip flop? If we don't fix what's going on right now with this suppression of women, are we gonna go back to times where women who are pregnant can't work? Or where women who are hired on at the same time as men aren't given the same opportunities because they're going to get married and stop working. Are we going to go back to that if we don't keep elevating? And now I have met some really amazing men in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And they, if men like that would continue to be nurtured, then we wouldn't have this issue. But there are also men that just feel like they're threatened. They're threatened. They don't understand that women don't want to take over. We just want a seat at the table.
Exactly.
And if a woman is the leader, that doesn't mean it's only going to be women that are in power. There will be men at the table too. Women always allow room for men, but men don't always allow room for women.
Exactly right.
And I love men. Like I said earlier, I love networking with men. I love working with men. So this isn't a man bashing thing.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
It's about structures and the environment that is created. When the structures are right, the environment's right, and you've got women that are able to speak up and be heard, everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not there, then it's difficult.
I want to hear your utopian idea of it's 10 years in the future and the work that you've done has really made an impact. What does that look like? And utopia might be the wrong word.
There are more females in political positions of power. There are more, so this whole gender gap, gender pay gap, board level, gender mixes, all of those conversations don't really need to be a conversation anymore. I mean, this is not about my work, it's about the work that women as a whole are going to do and the conversations that need to be had. That would be amazing. And there is another reason that I want more female leaders, which you might find funny. But this is in my heart. The other stuff's in my head a lot because of experiences. But in my heart, I'm a vegan. Don't shoot me. I absolutely love animals. I worry about the planet. I worry about what we do to animals. And if there are more women, because all of the stats show that there are more female vegans than men vegans, if we have more women in positions of power, there is going to be more harmony between the planet, the animals, and the humans. And that would be utopia, but that's not 10 years away. I mean, who knows how far away that is.
Yeah. I'm not a vegan.
I know. Most people aren't, but that's in my heart.
Mm-hmm. But there is that. I don't know if you've seen the video of the elephant in Thailand. I'm not sure. I may have. I'll link the video in the show notes for the listeners. But there's this video of an elephant who apparently the elephant's blind, but the elephant knows that on this certain road are trucks filled with sugarcane. And so the blind elephant stands along. Have you seen the video?
No.
So this blind elephant stands on the side of the road, and when it smells the truck filled with sugarcane, it steps into the middle of the road. The truck stops. The elephant comes and takes its toll of sugarcane, and then waits for the next truck. So the elephant only takes one trunk full of sugarcane, and every truck stops for the elephant and lets the elephant take the sugarcane. And so that's one elephant, but animals are smart. There's an orangutan in Dubai that can drive a golf car, right? Okay. Animals.
We need to learn from them.
Yeah, we need to learn from them and learn how they interact with each other and, watch them interact with other animals. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now orangutans are also the only other mammal besides humans that will rape. So that's
really?
Also an important thing to know. Yes, an orangutan will rape.
Oh.
Yeah. So
wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. So but watching the way animals interact with each other, raccoons and cats can be best friends. You just watching them interact with each other and that's domestic, but it also happens in the wild. It also happens in the wild.
That's the thing. If we pay attention and we watch and we learn from other people, from animals, there's so much to be gained. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, we don't always do that because we're on a mission sometimes with our own agenda.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we also need to appreciate the wild, the animal kingdom without exploiting it.
Absolutely.
It's like when they got rid of all the wolves in parts of the United States, and then other wildlife took over and it ruined the ecosystem. You've got to have an ecosystem where there are predators and there are prey.
Yep.
Or else you have too many. I don't know what took over in that part of the United States, but whatever. Yeah.
Things have been put there for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all part of the biodiversity of the planet. And I read somewhere that if the human race or the human species was wiped out, they're the only species that wouldn't have a negative impact on biodiversity. I mean, that's sad, isn't it?
I believe it's so crazy. So there was a house that was decrepit. And they tore the house down, and they tore the house down, and they took everything away, so it was just a flat piece of earth, and it only took 6 weeks for it to be green space. I mean, 6 weeks it went from there was a house there to it was a green space. That is phenomenal.
Well, and the pandemic showed us this. The planet will heal if we let it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot more
Yeah.
with climate change and everything else, but things like that show us that the planet will heal. I don't know if you had the same way you are, but over here in the pandemic through lockdown, there were more birds singing. A lot of the animals that had been driven away came back, and it was amazing to see.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the price we pay, isn't it? Or they pay.
I live in a very weird area in West Michigan. We're here. The Lake Michigan is right. It's 10 minutes away from my house. We live in a very strange place. I have seen wild turkeys in my backyard, and I live in an urban area. I've seen wild turkeys. We've seen turkeys just trotting down the side of the road. I've never seen a deer in my yard, but I have had flowers on my porch disappear. So I'm sure that it was deer. Yeah. We've got 3 different kinds of squirrels that run around in our backyard. We've got and these are animals that we see, right? Many different kinds of birds, and then there's a burrowing animal. I can't never remember what it's called. It's not a mole. It's not a mole, but it's another burrowing animal, and we see a lot of those. And then rabbits. And you know what? I think we saw more rabbits during the pandemic than we did without so the rabbits would just run around, and they'd be in the street, and there'd be rabbits everywhere, and it was so much fun to watch. So yeah, I think you're right. The wild turkeys though are the ones that just shock you. There's a turkey in my backyard.
I mean, we don't have wild. I've never seen a wild turkey.
Aren't those an American animal? Aren't turkeys American? Yeah. Or North American? Yeah.
We have turkey farms, you see. That's what I'm familiar with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're raised like a domestic animal, but there are wild turkeys, and they're very majestic, and they are very brave. They're very brave. They don't run away from humans. I mean, they'll just walk down the road. They'll just walk down the street.
Brilliant.
So funny.
Love that.
All right, so we've talked about networking, and networking is a really important, I know we're going to totally switch topics here, but let's get back on track. Networking is an important part of a marketing plan. So we've already talked about that, but let's talk about marketing. What's your favorite marketing tool, tip, or technique?
Well, when I first launched my business, I think I mentioned my preferred platform is LinkedIn. I do, LinkedIn is almost like my website. Everything I do is on LinkedIn. So I do lives on there. I do masterclasses that I promote through there. I obviously do the usual content and build my audience all on LinkedIn. I have an email list, and I have funnels and things like that. But I think LinkedIn is the place that everything happens in my business. So
there'll be a link to your LinkedIn in the show notes for listeners who want to see what that looks like, because I find that the best way to understand how to use social networking is to look at somebody's social media and see what they're doing if they're successful at it. And LinkedIn really does offer things that no other platform offers. It has the audio file. You can do audio only kind of things. You can do articles. There's just so many things that LinkedIn offers.
There's loads.
And I have not been on LinkedIn as much as I want to, but lately my preferred platform has been Instagram because of the ease of use. But lately Instagram isn't, it's there's too many people who think it's easy to use, and now it's I don't think Instagram is dying. I just don't think it's where I need to be. So I want to shift to LinkedIn. And it's just a matter of getting my finger to click on the LinkedIn button on my phone and not the Instagram button on my phone, right? And just but I love posting articles on LinkedIn. I don't know if they've had any traction, but it's so easy to use the article platform.
It is. It is. I mean, I think articles get less views than most other things, to be honest. But if you've got an engaged audience, they're going to look for these things. So it's a really important thing to do. And it's certainly part of my mind.
So hot tip for everybody. What are the top 3 things that you should be doing on LinkedIn then?
So get your profile and your headline clear so people understand who you are, who you serve, how you serve them. Connect with the people that you want to see your content. You can connect with about 10 people every day before LinkedIn starts selling you off. So connect with 10 people every day and engage with your audience. And to be honest, they're the simple things to do to get started. Then you can start, jazzing up your profile and doing events and doing your audio messages and all the other things that you can do on there. But to start with, just do those things and start engaging and creating useful content for your audience.
And the connecting with 10 people a day. When you say connecting, does that mean friend request or does that mean chat, commenting on their posts or?
No, it means sending a connection request.
Connection request. Okay.
And just send the connection request, and then, not everybody will accept, not everybody's acting, but more and more people are.
When you send those connection requests, are you including a note or are you just sending a connection request? I just send
the connection request because there is a note in there. If they're people I've met at networking or people that I've met doing something, I'll put a note in and say, lovely to see you at this event, love to connect with you here. But otherwise, I just send a connection request because my headline kind of shows why I'm connecting with these people.
Good tip. And are you using the suggested connection requests that LinkedIn gives you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because all they are the connections to my network. So they're my second or third connections, people that are connected to my first connection.
Or they might even be, if you've given LinkedIn access to your Outlook or your Google, email address list, it could be people that you've emailed.
In there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's an easy way to start.
Yeah, and my LinkedIn is free. I don't have the upgraded account. I've not got to that yet. I've not needed it. So it doesn't have to be difficult. I think I don't know whether you'd agree, but I think with marketing, it's about being consistent.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn is no different. If I do a video every Monday, and that's what I do. That happens every Monday.
Yeah. This podcast goes out every Tuesday at 5 a.m.
Right. So
yeah. And every Thursday at 11, I offer a free class. And, the consistency. Yeah. And that keeps me on track too.
Yeah.
I know that every Thursday people are expecting me to have information to teach them and share with them. So, what gets scheduled gets done. So the schedule is the consistency. I love that. I love that. Okay. We need to wrap up. So this is your moment of gratitude. For whom or what are you most grateful?
Oh, well, I'm grateful to you for inviting me on, obviously. I think I'm grateful to my dad, as I said, for the work ethic. And I'm also, I want to say about my mum, who I lost in March to dementia. I am grateful to her because in her last few years, she became so appreciative of the small things. And she taught me to slow down and start to notice the aeroplanes in the sky, the flowers, the bees, the things that previously I might have been too busy to see. And I'm so grateful to her for that because I will keep that with me and stop worrying about all the nonsense. So that's it.
Thanks for tuning in to Gratitude Geek, the relationship marketing podcast that helps DIY marketers attract raving fans and repeat buyers. Make sure to visit gratitudegeek.com for the show notes where you can find links to all the groovy resources we've mentioned, including ways to connect with our guest, Kirsteen Williamson-Guinn. If you loved this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on Audible, iTunes, Good Pods, or your preferred podcast player so you never miss an episode. Our theme music is track 14 by Rev Brock and Solely. I'm your host, Candice Rodarty, reminding you that gratitude is like manure. It's just a pile of poo until you spread it around. Stay groovy, my friends.
Stay groovy, my friends.